Hello, welcome in, Jonathan Swift, 89. We're doing some Fallout New Vegas. We're trying to find the Great Khans.
Can't run from me.
Well, I have an interest in politics, so I wouldn't say that I'm streaming politics at this very moment. I've been thinking about it, but I usually just take it as it goes. So most people have they have no politics or no religion stuff, and I like politics. And as an atheist, I like talking about religion as well. So I don't close the door for that. So I leave it open, and then I play games. And if someone has anything to ask, like what I think. Oh, well, good. Usually people who have questions about atheisms are usually trying to convince me about God or their own beliefs. So we won't collide too much on that part, which only leaves us having difference of opinion when it comes to politics. Which can also happen. So I'm based out of Sweden. So my political stance is based out of Sweden, basically. So I usually take a very economic stance. All right. Well, you need to be part of the solution. Usually, government are forced to do the work. Better depends on what you have, I guess. We have a system, and it's very expensive. And we also are we are having problems financially. So what happens is that the politics are very goal-oriented. And being goal-oriented leaves you not looking at the price tag. So we also have a problem where we have people in government on the top level of Sweden, not Europe, but in Sweden, that are forming laws that is restricting you on a local level to do certain political moves. So the problem we have is that we have the city and then the region. And the region is a couple of cities together that are doing services for a collective of cities. And then the cities themselves have individual responsibility areas. So all of these are run by people that are employed, and then you have the politicians who oversees and make political decisions. And the political decisions are the ones who are somewhat restricted. So we're basically down to following the status quo and trying to distribute the budget. How do we fund the goals? So the most important levels of politics in Sweden right now is the Swedish national politics and also the European Union election. But we have a hard time to getting people to vote for the European level. You say the new budget that they've unveiled here is horrible. Well, it's always depends on what side of what side of given or taken you're on. Can you afford to pay? Are you desperate and needing to get? Oh, UK. Well, biggest thing I've heard out of UK recently is that you're getting restricted in your freedom of speech online, like in chats and stuff. So I don't know the whole background behind that. But the question is, because even if the budget is bad, is it bad as in higher taxes, or is it bad as in tax cuts that they are defunding? Is it an increase of taxes or defunding of? Okay, so they're raising taxes. Well, you have to see it like this. If they're raising the taxes, they're not doing what Sweden is doing right now on some parts. Like where I live, we are having problems with debt. So you have the taxes, and the taxes can either pay for what you have built up, the upkeep. So everything that is already built needs money to keep running. So that's the upkeep. And then you have, they call it investment in Sweden, but it's not an investment because it will just increase the upkeep. And if you're increasing the upkeep, you're just in need of more payments. So the ones raising the taxes right now might be forced to do that because of the people who were running the politics badly before them. So you feel the tax burden now, but the reasons behind the raised taxes might be because of politicians 10 years ago. Do you understand? It can be 20 years ago. So the ones raising the taxes now are just trying to pay off what someone else did. So people raising the taxes, it's kind of socialist in a way, but it's kind of sucky if someone else did it. That problem, like in Sweden, it's they're trying to, the right has been trying to not raise the taxes, and but that route seems to go future debt with them. So what Sweden is missing right now is people who want to decrease the taxes by defunding and basically downscaling government, so we get more room for real private enterprises where you pay out of your own pocket. That is basically the political group that is missing out of Sweden right now, because everything, even if it's private, some of the private sector is financed by taxes, and that means it's not real private sector. They are contractors getting paid to do what the local government can't organize themselves. You say, I could give you an overview of British politics if you want me to. Well, sure, go ahead. We're already started, Jonathan Swift. I do need something to drink, maybe some coffee. Type away, I'll be right back. Alright. Let's see what you wrote. The political situation here is a mess. The Greens want to get rid of our nuclear weapons while we're in the midst of facing a potential war, and want to cut down nuclear plants while also wanting to fight climate change. The Tories are up to no good. The Labour Party is raising taxes and is hated by their voter base for supporting what's happening in Gaza. The Reform UK wants to push through economic policies that are going to crash the bond market and are pro-Russia. And your party is run by socialists and want to get rid of nuclear weapons as well. The Lib Dems are the only ones who are somewhat decent. It's such a mess right now. While that do sound problematic, we had a red-green leadership in Sweden not too long ago, before this mandate that we are in now, and I think they had 8 years. Hello and welcome in, Aliana on the new phone. Where was I? Yeah, so basically Sweden had a political long-term plan for our power net. So they had it all planned out. We were gonna have 24 nuclear reactors. They managed to build 12, and then it went on a super long pause. For how long I don't know, but when the red and the greens were running the show before this mandate, they took down 6 generators, and the energy prices has skyrocketed. We have several zones of the power grid, and the ones in the south are getting very expensive electricity. Like they are like barely hanging on expensive. And they had to put in extra money for people who had been suffering financially because of the in this mandate they had to give people money to pay their energy bills. Extra welfare, like electricity welfare. It's insane. Anyways, and it's all because of we have a power grid that is connected to Germany. So they are selling the electricity to Germany, so over the net. So it's like free trade that we can't stop. So all the electricity goes to Germany. That's why everybody's going broke, because they have to pay even more money for the electricity we get locally. Well, there's always a risk. I mean, it's not risk-free, but if you have like the American problem where they have like generators from the 1970s, that's when it's risky. When you have like old tech. If you have more advanced stuff, or at least more thought out security measures, tech can always be a problem. So you always need to have like manual safety procedures as well, I think. But it's if you look at the power source, for example, uranium, that's what they are afraid. They're afraid of the reaction that the uranium gets. But we have a bunch of uranium in Sweden, and they can have their reaction in the nature. So people are super afraid that something bad is going to happen in the nuclear reactor that can happen below their house. if they have uranium below their house. Because uranium can have... They have found uranium depleted in nature, which means that uranium had a nuclear... they had their reaction at some point in time. So if we have a bunch of uranium in nature, and it can have its reaction uncontrollably, then maybe it's safer to use it up. Because when you use it up, it's only dangerous to digest. When you have depleted uranium. And it's not good, but it's less of an hazard. Unless consumed. Or breathed. If you breathe it like dust, then it's still dangerous. So energy is vital for the infrastructure. So it's the problem is that when you look at the other power sources that they are talking about, like we can't burn stuff, we need solar panels and windmills. And the windmills can't survive the 25 promised years, and we don't have the natural resources to do the solar panels by ourselves, which makes us dependent on China. So that's I don't know, it's kind of hard. I've been looking at other stuff, like what can we produce locally, and them wanting us to go electrify everything. As long as it works, it's gonna be good. But when it fails, it's kind of good having like a burner stove, when you can put some wood in it and burn it. It's not good if everybody does it. We won't have forest left. It's gonna be like one of those African lands where they burn all the woods, and then they don't have any wood at all. It's just barren land. So that's not sustainable as well. But you need to clean out the forests. So if you own land that has forest, you need to clean it out. And all the scrap you can make pellets out of. So you don't have to like cut down all the trees. You can just like clean out your woods from, so it doesn't get cluttered. And you will have stuff to burn naturally. You can even make biological gas out of it. So it's like diesel, biodiesel. But the only problem with biodiesel is that it freezes low temperatures, and we are a winter country, so that is a problem with that energy source. They have eased up the regulations on nuclear power plants, at least this past mandate. But I haven't heard any more information on what's going on. So just because of the political climate we have, which might not be as bad as yours, it's still uncertain. So people are afraid to invest their own money. The private market, that is. So them being afraid to invest makes problem solution impossible for the politicians, because they can only reform or any tax-funded investments made recently has not gone too well. Or if it was a mission, I don't know how much money they got, or if it was private sector entirely. Or sometimes it's half and half, like it's private sector and taxes. But with the problem picture as we have it right now, nuclear reactors if we can make them safe, almost foolproof, and have a steady supply of the uranium, it would stabilize the energy grid with less. The only problem you really have is to store the depleted uranium, and you can yeah, that's the only thing. The depleted uranium needs storage. Well, it hasn't gone very well for any country that has disarmed. So it's like disarming nuclear weapons feels like a very like peace-driven ideology, and the only problem with being peace-driven is like it sounds good and nobody wants a war really, but just look at Ukraine. They didn't choose to get invaded, and we are gonna have problems with natural resources, trade and stuff. And if we get diplomatic trade problems, a war might erupt because of someone like holding resources that everybody else needs. That's usually what's causing war. So Sweden doesn't have any nuclear weapons that I know of, and we dismantled our military like a couple of mandates ago. So what happened was that our military was 10% of the size it used to be, and yeah, it wasn't optimized. Like we tried to have a small elite force, and I mean we don't really have any had at that point. Yeah, like you make yourself a victim. Because look at Germany. Germany did the same thing as Sweden. Both Germany and Sweden dismantled their military. Because they think that if they show the world how peaceful they are, nobody will hurt them. But that's not true. If you walk down the street and then you get wrestled to the ground and someone rapes you, they did not concern themselves with you being nice or anything. They didn't care if you were nice, if you were not nice, or if you... They didn't care about anything but what they wanted at that point. And that's the problem with disarming, is that you make yourself a victim. And I think that is... that's the problem when... because disarming becomes a little bit of politics. So you become involuntarily disarmed if you don't agree. So it's like, how are you gonna defend yourselves? Because civilian warriors can be executed whilst they have to take military personnel or fighting troops. If they can take you prisoner, they should. So there's a possibility of war crime that might safeguard you to some degree. Whilst if you're a civilian fighter, they can like put you to death because you don't have a fighting role, or so I've heard. So I don't have any exact proof for that, but it's the information I've been given. The thing is, they might have other... I don't know what exact reasons they have to it. The only hopes I have that they're not doing it just to get votes, you know, that they're many people run politics on people's fears, or you know, so it's doesn't become about the logical aspect of politics. It becomes of emotional aspect of politics. Or sometimes I'm afraid that they are wanting you to disarm so the nation they are supporting can invade. That's what I'm afraid of when it comes to, like, if there's parties that are actually loyal to Russia, for example, then you will have like people loyal to other nations within our borders that are trying to ruin, and how do you prove that? You know, maybe, I mean, even if they do it, maybe they find their ideology, and their ideology is just the thing that is gonna bring them down, because the reality check when it comes just destroys them. So it's something they talk about a lot here is when the communists helped overthrow the communist fight with Islam to overthrow the Iranian regime, and then when they won, the government, the organization they fought with, killed all the communists. So it became a religious political system. So it's and I mean that can happen with any ideology if they use force to overthrow, or you know, it's I'm gonna try and stay away from links. It looks somewhat safe because it's from The Guardian. Is that... Listen, there's a tactical reason to support Ukraine with weapons, but there can be... you can be fooled. And that's the problem. Because let's say there's probably observers in Ukraine and in Russia taking part of information and the progress of the war and stuff. And the problem is that you have the reasons why Russia started the war, and then you have they're probably throwing shit at each other. Why, basically? And who's telling the lie? Ukrainians being Nazis is kind of hard to believe when the president is a Jew with ties to Israel. So it becomes a little bit stupid, you know. So it becomes a little bit of a like comical drama at that point. But it's I am from Sweden, and we are supporting them because Russia made the same similar threat to Finland and Sweden about NATO as they did Ukraine. So for us, Ukraine is our shield, because if Russia would have succeeded with their blitzkrieg copied battle plan, if they would have succeeded in the first 1 to 2 weeks when they were somewhat unprepared, then Finland and Sweden would have been probably in war as well, because they were trying to get into NATO. So Ukraine standing up against Russia and actually holding them at bay is what's given us time to actually get into NATO. So Ukraine is basically paying and fighting with manpower, whilst we are bolstering their efforts with the equipment they need. So it's I feel like Farage is a shill for Russia. What's a shill? S-H-I-L-L, shill. I've never heard this word in my life. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's that's my biggest fear about the refugees from Syria and Afghanistan and stuff. Because there can be a shitload of people there having Russian ties that passed our border and lives here now. You say all these far-right parties are supported by Russia. Well, it's if there's proof of that, then there might be some truth to it. But I like the Swedish Democrats was accused of that as well. But I don't think that's the case. I would probably think that they are more leaning against USA more than Russia if they were supported by someone. You know, so it's but I mean, USA is our allies now. We're in NATO, so we are all like NATO allies at this point. But there's a lot of intrigue about it. Like, people don't want to be in EU. They don't want to be in the European Union. They don't want to be in NATO. So it's the thing is that it's you are saying whether that's the AFD in Germany, Le Pen in France, Geert Wilders in Netherlands, or the Reform UK in the UK. Well, alternative for Dutch, I guess. No, Dutch is Netherlands. AFD. Isn't it alternative for Germany or something like that? AFD. What's the D for? Well, it's Deutschland. Okay. Deutschland. Well, I don't know if they have Russian ties, so I can't answer that. I only know that I don't have Russian ties, which I can't prove. I can only state. The thing is, when it comes to loyalties, also is that sometimes, well, it's good. Well, some Swedes are funny, I would say. We do have a lot of people that are dry or medicated beyond saving when it comes to humor. The thing with agendas is that you can have people with double payrolls. So they are employed or paid to have a certain role, and then they are paid by someone else to do shady stuff or to inform and informant problems and stuff like this. So it's there is a you can't really you can't really have that problem. You have it even if you wouldn't have immigration. You would have traitors, turncoats. You know, they think they're on the losing side, so, or they get a personal vendetta cleared, or they get promises of wealth after it's over, kind of stuff. And I think it's kind of risky. You know, there's no guarantees. So it's like, what if you're just a duped fool if you go for that? You get sold on an agenda that someone else made, and you're running in their tracks. Who's to say there's a pot of gold on the other side of the rainbow, if you understand? So I don't know. I think hopefully, I hopefully think that the top players are smart enough not to do that, and if they are stupid enough to do that, I hope that people below them figure out how stupid they are and manage to convince everybody else of that. Because that's the thing with politics. If someone is lying, and you can point it out, proving stuff can be hard. But in politics, when you have argumentation, you can find the counter argument and stuff. So, and by their argumentation, you can also find what type of direction they're taking. So I don't think it's very easy to be an informant or a traitor when you're inside a party. Like long-term planning to sabotage. Like it's a... You need to have a really specific goal that is not too advanced or like far-fetched. But there was this guy who was running. He was super rich dude in from the United States. So he was super rich, and he went to Africa, and he tried. He had so much resources that he tried to take over the country. There was he had like his own mercenary force on the ground, and he was funding one political side. And then his mercenaries got kidnapped, and then he went on the offensive and told them to release his mercenaries to him, or he would send helicopters with like some super serious missiles. And he said, like, if you don't release my mercenaries, I'm gonna like level your city with all my missiles. And like even the U.S. government, I think, was involved in the negotiations between this private guy and the military regime that was fighting him and his political side that he was like enforcing. So it is happening, but it can even happen by like rich people that are like insanely rich. So like me living in a country like Sweden, for example, it's pretty small. But luckily our nation is pretty old, so the system is kind of set in place. So because of the complexity, it's kind of hard to just jump in and take over it. So it's... But I mean, that doesn't stop people with weird ambitions. Maybe they look at like Genghis Khan videos and masturbate and think, oh, I'm so rich, I'm gonna do it. You know, it's... Well, looks like my coffee break is over. I'm just gonna fill the cup off with the last and pour out what is left.